Hi, this is Samya Zulfikar and you're watching Social Sciences.
One of the most prominent movement in contemporary philosophy is the philosophy of language. It is a broad movement, not quite unified, but connected through such approach to philosophizing that emphasize the role of language as a medium of our thought and our relation to the reality. In the history of philosophy, individual thinkers who thematize the role of language have been emerging since ancient history. But only at the turn of 19th and 20th century such approach become widespread. Therefore, this shift is usually called the linguistic turn. Philosophy of language is the recent inquiry into the nature, origin, and usage of language. As a topic, the philosophy of language for analytic philosophers has been concerned with four central problems, that is, the nature of the meaning, language usage, language cognition, and the relationship between language and reality. First, philosophers of language inquire into the nature of meaning and seek to explain what it means to mean something, how we assign different meanings to the words, and how we use synonyms are the main concern of these philosophers. Further, analytic philosophers also look into the composition of the sentences to know how they become so meaningful for the people. Second, they would like to understand what speakers and listeners do with language in communication and how it is used socially. Specific interests may include the topics of language learning, language creation, and speech acts. Thirdly, philosophers are interested in knowing how language relates to the minds of both the speakers and the interpreter, and how they translate words into different words. Finally, they investigate how language and meaning relate to truth and the word. Philosophers tend to be less concerned with which sentences are actually true and more with what kinds of meanings can be true or false. A true oriented philosopher of language might wonder whether or not a meaningless sentence can be true or false, whether or not sentences can express propositions about things that don't exist, and whether or not it is a sentence that is true or false rather than the way sentences are used. Language, like other important essential terms, cannot be easily defined, as language in general can be referred as complex system of symbols used for communication. The main and the most usual representative are the human languages, which at first had acoustic shape in the form of speech and later also visual shape of script. In the generalized form, also the system of road signs, human gestures, facial expressions, formal languages in mathematics and logic, artificial computer languages, etc., can be considered as a language. Language is associated with the human ability to acquire certain systems of symbols and use it for communication, that is, for exchange of information. It is a tool for us to share our ideas, feelings, and desires. It helps us to reveal our thoughts and communicate with others. Human language is one of the most developed and complicated means to transmit knowledge. Now the question arises that why we get interested in the philosophy of language. When people started to use language and communicate with it, they describe the word and ask questions. It was only a matter of time when the language itself becomes the subject of interest. There is nothing left that we would not continually try to grasp with language. Therefore, we ask with the language about the language itself too. What sort of special phenomena is it? It is demonstrating no notably distinctive differences from other animals, but playing an important role in changing the surface of our planet and even its close surrounding. The language is like an immense crisis of these changes. What is its sense? How does it facilitate communication, mutual understanding, but also the feeling that we understand the reality? If it is not too exaggerated, then we could also talk, in case of animals, about at least the fact that certain objects events, relationships are important to them through the fact that they need them for living. They are fulfilling their certain needs. A cat does not hold the meaning of milk in it as we are picturing the meaning of milk. When we speak about the meaning of milk for a cat, it is more the way how we describe the difference of cat's approach to different realities, from total indifference to necessity. But a cat has no mobile phones, airplanes, nor institutionalized healthcare networks up to teeth filling. Neither it has political parties and religion, but it has quite decent flexible system of environmental adaptation mainly due to emotionality. This system enables it to adapt to outer and inner changes so the organism survives and remains in dynamic balance, which the body perceives as something pleasant. Even despite rationality, this type of emotional significance is still an important moving agent of human behavior. Life can therefore exist also without language. What is language good for? Or is our language foreshadowing to us that communication and mainly information exchange were here in some form in all the times? That they form a basis of existence, but we are able to realize it only uh, thanks to language. The origin of our human communication can be anticipated just in connection with satisfying basic needs. Therefore, meanings of first sounds, words, and sentences related probably to such situations like notifying about danger or about the source of food. When the language was created, the reality became as if doubled. If we want to better understand ourselves, we cannot bypass the language because we would have bypassed something that is significantly contributing to our difference from other beings. The most profound language related question surpasses facts perceived by senses, thus being philosophical questions aiming at the substance. Therefore, every try for knowledge needs the philosophy of language too. Some philosophers assert that language is about the relationship between words and things. Willard Van Orman, however, disagrees. Language is not about the relationship between objects and verbal signifiers, but about knowing what to say and when to say it. He says that words are meaningful to us because we became used to the ways in which they are used by others, not because there is a link between words and actual things, but in fact, the way that language is used socially makes it meaningful. Thus, we can say that language is a social art. For another philosopher, Wittgenstein, language is a form of life because he says that the way we use it is always a reflection of our individual experiences, habits, and skills. He is attempting to resist the tendency of philosophy to make simplistic generalizations about language and instead is pointing to the many different roles a language plays in our lives. So, what do you guys think? Does language create our worldview or not? Leave your answers in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.
If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel.